Hello everybody, today we're covering the Orky elite known as the Nobz, short for nobles of course. These brutish orcs are the largest, next only to the war boss, and pack some seriously intense stats. In terms of their baseline stats, they move at 6 inches, which is quite average. They're toughness 5 with a 4+ save, 2 wounds, leadership 7, and OC 1. They're somewhat fragile given their 21 point cost and their mediocre save, but they're very resilient to most small arms. And things like autocannons will struggle to wound them for their special rule, which we'll get to soon enough, though they are quite susceptible to things like heavy bolters, since they bypass their special rule, unfortunately. But Nobz are not just this for their stat line, they are also quite powerful in fighting. But first, we'll quickly cover their ranged weapons as they're much less important. The combi weapon is anti-infantry 4+ with devastating wounds and rapid fire 1, 24-inch range, 1 attack, hitting on 5s, strength 4, AP 0, and damage 1. Quite awful. And the pistol is a 12-inch range, strength 5, AP 0, damage 1 slugger. The melee weapons are the Power Claw, which is 3 attacks, hitting on 4s at strength 9, AP 2, and damage 2. This is their best melee weapon. Though if you prefer something to hit a bit more straight or natively, the Big Choppa isn't bad at 3 attacks, hitting on 3s with strength 7, AP 1, and damage 2, and then a standard close combat weapon at strength 5. However, the Power Claw just widely outperforms the Big Choppa in most cases, especially given the fact of the Nobz special rule, which requires them, for the most part, to be effectively led by a war boss. Their special rule, known as the Boss's Lads, is while a war boss is leading this unit, you subtract 1 from the wound roll if an attack against them is higher than their toughness, so strength 6 and above are at -1 to wound, which makes things like plasma guns and autocannons less effective against them than something, say like a heavy bolter, which is wounding them just as effectively and killing them just as quickly. This means they're quite tough as well to medium strength melee weapons, things like power fists, which won't be super effective at wounding them, even though they have a mediocre save. However, next up we're going to cover, of course, the War Boss, who is an extremely fighty character with a strength 10 Power Claw and a bunch of extra attacks from his attack squig. He is necessary to trigger their special rule and is very strong on his own, and is very cheap at 65 points. If you're running Nobz in large numbers, make sure to bring a War Boss. But the War Boss is not the only way that we can make Nobz better. They benefit from almost every single detachment, but the one that benefits them the most is the Bully Boys, which special rule is so long as you have a Warlord or War Boss on the field, you can declare a WA for a second turn at some point in the fight. But this second WA only affects Nobz, Mega Nobz, or War Boss units, which also applies to units that War Bosses lead. This, of course, gives them another round of brutal strength 10 melee with 40 attacks in a big ranked up squad. In terms of stratagems, the first one we're going to cover is Armed to the Teeth, which is when a orc is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll ones to hit. If it's the WA, you can reroll everything, which of course is fantastic, since they'll be hitting on 3s with their War Boss leading them, with their Power Claws, and rerolling everything makes them extremely accurate, unsurprisingly enough. From here, we're going to cover another stratagem that's also very handy for them. This stratagem is, of course, Too Arrogant to Die. While they are resilient, they aren't super tough, and if something charges them that's fighty, this is a no-brainer. It means that if you're destroyed in the shooting or fight phase, you get to shoot or fight on a 5+. Now that's not good, but during the WA, you get to add 2 to the roll, making it very consistent. We're going to cover another couple stratagems here, the next one being Always Looking for a Fight, which is when you destroy a unit, you can consolidate D3+3 instead of 3 inches, or if you're in the WA 6 inches, which is extremely useful for tying up enemies and taking objectives, but it's super powerful when paired with another stratagem, and that stratagem is Cut 'em Down. When an enemy unit is selected to fall back, they have to take Battle Shock, or not Battle Shock, Desperate Escape, and if it's during the WA, you subtract 1 from the test, which means that anything you're in combat with can't really afford to fall back, as even something as big as a knight would be at serious risk of blowing itself up. This is also useful in a situation like we're going to cover here in a moment. Say there's 2 Tau units, one a unit of crisis suits and the other a stealth suit team. Both of these would of course not want to be in melee and are likely to die, so let's say our Nob destroys this crisis suit unit. It can then of course use Always Looking for a Fight to consolidate into this stealth suit unit. Now this is bad for the stealth suits as they stand no chance against them in the next fight phase, but also with Cut 'em Down means they can't fall back to use their abilities. They're really screwed either way. And regardless, Nobz are powerful for many reasons, and I just wanted to highlight a couple things. They're really strong to the point they can take down almost anything, including knights and terminators. Anyways, I've been Spoons Rattling. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.